The war on the Fed and why Bitcoin wins. On January 9, 2026, the Department of Justice served grand jury subpoenas to the Federal Reserve. The threat is unprecedented: criminal indictment of the central bank chairman Jerome Powell. Official court filings cite gross mismanagement regarding a $2.5 billion renovation of the Fed's headquarters. The charges are specific: cost overruns, misuse of funds, and perjury. However, the timing points to a motive far simpler than bureaucratic waste: retaliation. The relationship between the White House and the Federal Reserve has deteriorated into open conflict. During the 2024 election, Republican critics accused Powell of cutting rates to aid the Democratic incumbent, a move they labeled as political interference. Now facing a $36 trillion debt wall, President Trump has demanded aggressive rate cuts to stimulate the economy. This time, Powell has refused. The criminal investigation into the renovation serves as the response to that refusal. While the investigation targets administrative waste, the market reaction signals a structural shift in American finance. The post-1951 consensus of central bank independence is effectively over. Investors are now pricing in a new era of fiscal dominance, and capital is fleeing to the only natural asset left on the board. Section 1. The leverage, the renovation probe. The Department of Justice's investigation targets a specific financial footprint: the $2.5 billion renovation of the Mariner S. Eccles building. Costs for the project have escalated by approximately $700 million since the original 2024 budget. Public focus is centered on details cited by the Office of Management and Budget, OMB. Director Russell Vought's letter to the Fed highlights the purchase of premium Georgia marble, the installation of vegetated roof terraces, and modernized elevators for the Board of Governors. These expenditures provide the necessary legal predicate for an external probe. However, the investigation operates as a political mechanism rather than a simple audit. Tension stems from the 2024 election cycle, where Trump allies explicitly accused Powell of favoring the Democratic administration by lowering rates prior to November. The current administration views Powell's subsequent refusal to slash rates in 2025 not as economic prudence, but as continued political opposition. With the president legally unable to fire a Fed chair over policy disagreements, waste and mismanagement serves as one of the few statutory grounds for removal for cause. By elevating cost overruns to the level of criminal scrutiny, the administration creates a binary choice for the Fed leadership. Powell must either litigate a criminal defense while attempting to manage monetary policy, or resign. A complicating factor in the waste narrative is the origin of the design choices. In 2020, the Commission of Fine Arts, comprised of appointees from the first Trump administration, rejected the Fed's initial, lower-cost modern design and mandated the use of classical marble aesthetic, now under investigation. Regardless of the origin, the legal exposure remains real. The renovation probe has successfully pierced the central bank's administrative shield, allowing the executive branch to apply direct pressure on its leadership. But Powell is not the only target. The legitimate checkmate, the Cook case. While Powell faces the renovation probe, the administration has launched a far more precise legal strike against the Board of Governors. The target is Governor Lisa Cook, and the case against her is built on a foundation of hard documentary evidence. On August 25, 2025, President Trump moved to fire Cook for cause, citing mortgage fraud. The administration's case is simple, documented, and lethal. In 2021, Cook signed mortgage applications for two different properties. one in Michigan and one in Georgia. On both applications, signed under penalty of perjury within the same year, she declared the property as her primary residence. In the eyes of the law, you cannot have two primary residences. By making this declaration, she secured the preferential lower interest rates reserved for owner-occupied homes on both loans. The defense offered by her legal team that this was merely a clerical error or an inadvertent notation crumbles under scrutiny. You do not accidentally receive the financial benefit of a primary residence rate twice. You do not accidentally sign federal lending documents attesting to false facts. The discovery of this contradiction was a calculated operation. Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pult utilized data mining partnerships to audit the loan records of federal officials, unearthing the signed documents that Cook cannot deny exists. The administration has effectively trapped her. If she admits she lied to get the lower rate, she committed fraud. If she claims she didn't know what she was signing, she admits to gross negligence in financial matters, disqualifying for a Federal Reserve governor. The administration is using this inescapable fact pattern to force the issue to the Supreme Court in Trump versus Cook. They aren't asking the court to approve a political firing. They are asking the court to affirm that a president has the right to fire a regulator who signed false financial documents. It is a compelling legal argument. And if the court agrees, the for-cause protection that shields the Fed is gone. The policy conflict. Why deploy such aggressive legal weaponry against a single governor? Because the policy conflict between the White House and the Fed has reached a mathematical breaking point. The United States is facing a $36 trillion debt wall. With the federal funds rate holding at 3.75%, the interest payments on that debt are consuming nearly 20% of federal revenue. The Trump administration has a clear economic mandate: growth. To achieve that, they need aggressive rate cuts to lower the cost of capital and service the debt. Jerome Powell has stood in the way. Citing sticky inflation at 2.7%, the Fed has refused to lower rates to the administration's target, effectively strangling the White House's economic agenda. To the administration, this isn't just caution. It is an act of economic warfare by an unelected bureaucracy. They view the Fed's refusal to coordinate policy as a direct threat to the solvency of the Treasury. The gridlock is absolute. The Fed won't cut. The Treasury can't pay. Something has to break. The investigations into Powell and Cook are the battering ram designed to break the deadlock. By targeting the personnel, the administration aims to force a capitulation on policy. But while the lawyers fight over the legality of the firing, the White House has quietly prepared a Plan B, a hedge against the very chaos they are creating. The hedge. Executive Order 14233. While the lawyers dismantled the Fed's independence in court, the White House has quietly executed a parallel financial strategy. They know that breaking the Fed's grip on rates will likely unleash inflation. They know that prioritizing debt service over price stability devalues the currency. So they built an insurance policy. While the media focused on the subpoenas, President Trump signed Executive Order 14233, titled Establishment of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. It is the most significant shift in U.S. monetary policy since 1971. For years, the U.S. government treated Bitcoin as contraband, seizing it from hackers and auctioning it off for dollars. EO 14233 ended that practice overnight. It ordered the immediate halt of all Bitcoin auctions and the transfer of over 200,000 seized Bitcoin, valued at roughly $18 billion, into a permanent strategic stockpile. This is not a speculative bet, it is a hedge. The administration understands the math. You cannot print trillions to service the debt without debasing the dollar. By hoarding the one asset that cannot be debased, they are balancing the national ledger. It is a ruthless admission of reality. In 2021, Donald Trump called Bitcoin a scam against the dollar. In 2026, he is making it a reserve asset. He realized that to win the economic war, he didn't need to ban Bitcoin, he needed to own it before the dollar lost its purchasing power. The war on the Fed destroys the scarcity of the dollar. The strategic Bitcoin reserve captures the scarcity of the alternative. It is the ultimate insider trade. The endgame. The market does not care about political speeches, it cares about liquidity. And the market's verdict on this conflict was instantaneous. On the day the subpoenas were served, the US dollar index dropped, while gold hit record highs. But the real signal came from Bitcoin, which ripped past $92,000. Smart money sees the writing on the wall. Investors realize that if the president can fire the central banker and the DOJ can raid the headquarters, the US dollar has lost its neutral status. It is now a political weapon, subject to the whims of fiscal necessity. Corporate America is already front-running the government. MicroStrategy, acting as the canary in the coal mine, executed a purchase of 13,000 Bitcoin in the middle of the crisis. They are betting that the era of central bank independence, which lasted from 1951 to 2026, is effectively over. We are entering the era of fiscal dominance. In this new world, the Treasury runs the show, the money printer stays on, and the currency takes the hit. The war on the Fed isn't a tragedy for the administration, it is a liquidation sale of the old system. They are liquidating the credibility of the Federal Reserve to pay for the debts of the past. The government has shown you their hand. They are attacking the dollar and they are hoarding Bitcoin. The only question left is, why aren't you doing the same?